The Hall of Concord had never heard a human voice. Not really. Just translators, polite, programmed, pitiful things. Today, they didn't need one. Counselor Dravek of the Valari clicked his mandibles in amusement. Shall we put it to a vote? After all, Earth has had its chance. Applause, or what passed for it across species. Tails thumped, spores glowed, feathers flared. And what is it we're voting on again? Asked Ambassador Shalven of the Coralax, eyes flickering red. That Earth either submits to the Council or faces economic sterilization. The phrase sounded cleaner than war. A hiss of amusement echoed from the upper tiers. Let them leave, someone muttered. Let the primitives sulk in their solar cradle. The vote passed, nearly unanimous, except Earth never raised its voice. Not once. Instead, he walked in. Boots. Actual boots. Scuffed, dusty, loud. The sound shattered the usual hush of diplomatic corridors. No envoy robes, no insignias. Just a man. Mid-40s. Calm. Dark coat. A data chip flicked between his fingers like a coin. Name? Asked the Kren recorder at the threshold. He didn't stop walking. Just whispered. Doesn't matter. Security froze. He stepped into the center. Ring looked up at 1,000 alien eyes. No introduction, no bow, just a glance. Then a smirk. You passed your vote. Dravek leaned forward, grin widening. Yes, we did. As you refused to, we walked, the man interrupted. We're done. No further negotiations, then? He shrugged. Earth's busy. There's construction, final protocols. No time left for the committee theater. A quiet chuckle slipped from the Coralax. Then what are you doing here? The chip stopped spinning. He raised it slowly, just delivering this. He placed it on the floor. No ceremony. Just the soft tick of plastic on marble. What is it? Asked someone. He was already walking away. The council chamber shifted, uneasy. Play it, Dravek snapped. The room dimmed. The hologram spun up. A star system. Not Earth. Another. Alien. Then the feed cut. Distorted. Warped. Screams. Explosions. Static. A timestamp burned at the bottom. 4 hours ago. The screen froze on one frame. A Terran ship. Unidentified class. Black. Angular. No hull number. No. HFY tags behind it, a broken fleet. Floating debris. Hundreds of vessels turned to ash. Then came the voice. The only audio. We offered peace. You offered votes. We're done playing your game. Silence. Real silence. The kind that sinks into bone. The man was gone. No one had seen him leave. Dravek swallowed, mandibles twitching. This is fake. Psychological warfare. It has to be. Counselor Rethan of the Tarlac stared at the frozen image. That wasn't Earth's fleet, she said quietly. What do you mean? She turned. Her voice cracked. That was one ship, and that was before Earth even responded. The hall emptied fast, faster than any official adjournment in council history. There were no closing rituals, no handshakes, no posturing. Just the quiet, urgent shuffle of officials avoiding each other's eyes. In a chamber designed to project order, the cracks were showing. Dravek stormed into his private quarters, talons shaking as they tried to input his override code. The doors finally sealed behind him with a hiss. He slumped into his exo-silk chair. One ship. It wasn't possible. He played the recording again. Same result, same devastation, same voice, human, steady, cold. They offered peace. We offered votes. He hadn't even heard the man's name. That bothered him more than the destruction. A chime. Incoming secure transmission. He answered. Counselor Varen appeared, grayscaled, eyes narrowed. You saw it? She asked. I saw a fabrication. You're lying to yourself. A pause. I am not afraid of Earth, he said finally. Then you're a fool. Her words cut sharper than any blade. Varen wasn't known for melodrama. If she was shaken, something had ruptured deep. They didn't make demands, she continued. Didn't ask for concessions. They just walked out. That isn't diplomacy. That's strategy. He hated that she was right. Another chime, this one from his aide. "Sir," came the clipped voice, "our outpost in the Vega Drift. They're silent. No signals in or out. We sent recon. They found wreckage. Only wreckage." Drevek didn't answer. Varen's voice dropped lower. "You think this is about territory? About protocol?" "No. They made us vote, just to see what we'd do, and we did exactly what they expected." The room felt colder. "They didn't flinch, Drevek." "We did." He disconnected without replying. His mandibles twitched. He stood, moved to his window. The stars glittered beyond, indifferent and eternal. They had dismissed Earth for being primitive, undisciplined, emotionally volatile. But it was the Council that panicked. It was the Council that had no plan. Suddenly the logic of Earth's silence made sense. It wasn't submission, it was warning. Behind him, the recording kept looping. Same image. Same ship, same wreckage, no demands, no threats, just silence and results. Then came the final sting. The last transmission intercepted from Vega Drift before the blackout. 4 human words. Cold, untranslated, unapologetic. This was our restraint, the Bo. Drenvar 9 observation ring had not known war in over a century. Positioned above the pale blue moon, its only concern was mineral logistics and ore traffic. No weapons, no shields, no need. So when the object arrived, it didn't trigger alarms. It didn't move like a warship. It didn't move at all. Commander Vex stood before the glass viewport, arms folded behind his segmented back. The object just hung there, black, still massive, as if it had always been part of the sky. "How long has it been stationary?" he asked. 17 hours, replied the analyst. "No transmissions, no approach, no change in energy output." "Scan it again." "We've scanned it 37 times, Commander." "Then scan it 38. The analyst hesitated, then tapped the interface. Results returned instantly. No IFF tags, no species match. Hull composition, unknown. Engine type, unknown. Armament, unreadable. All the data said the same thing. "We don't know what this is." Vex narrowed his eyes. "Try hailing it." A nervous technician switched to wideband communication. "This is Outpost Theta Drenvar to unidentified vessel. You are in restricted orbit. State your origin, intention, and fleet designation." Static, then a voice. It came not from speakers, but from inside their comms array. Hijacked, calm, male. "You speak in declarations. We don't." Vex's hearts froze. The technician looked up, pale. That wasn't a reply. That was a correction. Vex leaned in. "Continue transmission. Ask them to identify their ship." The voice returned, softer, sharper. "We're not a ship." Then silence. Not a ship, but it had engines, a hull. "Mass. Begin evacuation protocols," Vex ordered, voice tight. "But Commander, they haven't done anything yet," he snapped. "Which is worse." Lights dimmed, power redirected. Still the object didn't move, didn't turn, didn't need to. Then the sensors picked up something new, gravitational distortion. The moon below, Drenvar 9, was changing. Tides surging. Crustal shifts. No explosions. No visible weapons, just gravity moving like clay. "What are they doing?" the analyst whispered. No one answered. Another voice crackled through. Different this time. Female. Cold. "We left your council alone. We didn't leave the galaxy." Vex stepped back. Then the final message hit the internal broadcast channel, loud enough for the entire outpost to hear. "Observe carefully. This is not war. This is adjustment." Outside, the stars warped. The Council's emergency summit wasn't called. It was screamed into existence. 12 hours after Drenvar 9 went dark, systems began dropping offline. Not from missiles, not from sabotage, from silence. Trade convoys rerouted themselves without clearance. Communications relays refused input from Council servers. AI subnets rejected diplomatic access codes. Entire border stations simply stopped responding. No distress, no debris. Just absence. And Earth still hadn't sent a message. Inside the circular chamber, chaos wore 100 faces. Ambassador Kryn of the Zur Coalition pounded his segmented fist into the pedestal. This is retaliation. Earth has activated long-range cyber weapons. We must counterstrike. With what? Spat Counselor Vera of the Hadron. We don't even know how they're doing it. Counselor Drevek stood silent near the back, arms crossed tight. His mind wasn't racing. It was sinking. Every instinct told him this wasn't war. It was removal. They weren't attacking the Council. They were erasing its relevance. Ambassador Shalven stormed forward. I demand a united military expedition against Earth. At once. We cannot let this primitive world unmake galactic order. Drevek finally spoke. No. The room stopped. No? Shalven's eyes widened. You deny Earth has become an existential threat. I deny that we understand what Earth is anymore. A low murmur rippled through the chamber. Drevek turned slowly. We always assumed Earth was ascending, climbing up to our level, mimicking us, integrating into our order. He looked each species in the eye. What if they weren't ascending at all? What if they were just watching? The words settled like lead. Counselor Rethen, voice soft, asked, Then what are they doing now? Drevek's reply was nearly a whisper. Turning away, a screen flickered on. Unauthorized broadcast. It was a list. A simple list. 10 systems, all previously under Council oversight. Beside each, a timestamp, and a 2-word status. Order withdrawn. There was no signature, no declaration, no threats, just bureaucracy stripped of illusion. Shalven leaned closer, squinting. Is that a resignation notice? Drevek nodded. They're not fighting us. They're firing us. Another silence stretched. Then the screens went dark, replaced by a new signal. One sentence, white letters on black. Your relevance has expired. A murmur, then laughter. Mad, bitter laughter. Counselor Vera collapsed into her seat. We spent centuries building an empire, and Earth unmade it with admin paperwork? Drevek didn't laugh. He just stared at the dead screens. And for the first time in his career, he didn't feel superior. He felt obsolete. The room was underground. No windows, no clocks, no sunlight, just cold white lighting, humming consoles, and the sound of a pen tapping against a steel desk. Commander Ilara Voss leaned back in her chair, staring at the projections. They weren't maps. They were tremors, diplomatic signals. Trade route cancellations, splinter communiques, riot footage, all generated by silence. Council Outpost 347 just voided its own charter, said a voice behind her, young, uncertain, an aide. No one's even contacted them, they just folded. Voss didn't react. They're falling faster than predicted, the aide added. She finally spoke, her voice steady. They were never stable to begin with. We're not causing collapse. We're letting gravity do its job. She stood walking toward the main display. A hologram of the Galactic Council pulsed, growing dimmer with each passing hour. No kinetic strikes, she said. No hacking. Just withdrawals, contracts nullified, access revoked. Convoys redirected. They needed us more than they knew. The aide swallowed. But they're afraid, ma'am. They're expecting us to launch something. Anything. Ilara Voss's eyes were cold. We already did. The aide blinked. When? She turned to face him. When we walked away. The silence returned. Voss's hand hovered over a second display. Dozens of Terran vessels, most unmarked, ghost-coded, hovered at strategic points across the rim. None had fired. None had moved. Yet their presence alone had rewritten the rules. We call it the NVC protocol, she said. Nonviolent collapse? She nodded. You don't crush an empire with force, you humiliate it with irrelevance. The aide stared. But they might retaliate. Eventually. Voss gave a rare smile. Retaliate against what? We didn't invade. We didn't blockade. We just removed support, like cutting air from a room and watching them breathe louder, until they realize the silence means they're alone. A red alert flashed. Signal from the Talari block, the aide muttered. They want to negotiate. Voss turned away. Decline. No. Counteroffer? No words, she said. They've heard too many. Let them hear their own fear now. Behind her, another set of indicators began blinking. Power failures on Kyrath Prime. Leadership collapse in the Jour military. 5 planetary coalitions breaking treaties just to stay afloat. It was spreading. But Voss wasn't watching that. She was watching the Council. One by one. Its stars winked out on the hologram, and she said nothing. They called it a technical disruption at first. Kalaris Tharfu's news anchors, always dressed in shimmering yellow, delivered the line with artificial calm. Trade lines are temporarily paused. Council oversight will resume shortly. But by nightfall, the shipments hadn't resumed. By morning, the streets had. Riots weren't loud. Not yet. But people stood in long, coiling lines at water stations that had never required rationing. Stores closed for inventory and didn't reopen. Narrated watched it all unfold from her apartment balcony, 12 floors above the market district. Just yesterday, she had filed taxes through a Galactic Council app. Today, the app returned. A simple message, service unavailable, retry later. That was the scariest part. No explosions, no soldiers, just silence. Her brother Talon burst through the door. Turn on the floor screen. What now? Just do it. She obeyed. The screen flickered to life, showing the interior of a council chamber. It was empty, not chaotic, not bombed, empty. Where is this? She asked. Central Hall, Concord. Someone broke into the feed. The camera didn't shake. It just sat there staring at the symbol of galactic unity. Now dimmed. And then a voice. Familiar. Human. Calm. You believed we'd never leave. That was your first mistake. Nera's breath caught. You measured power by how loud someone spoke, how many signatures they gave you, how many ships sat politely in orbit. But true power never shouts. The screen glitched, replaced by a list of names. Hundreds, planets, systems. Next to each, withdrawn. No declaration, no gloating, just cold confirmation. Who did this? Nera whispered. Talon sat down slowly. They said it's Earth. But Earth doesn't even have a representative here. Exactly. She turned to the window. Down below, the line at the water station had broken into chaos. Shouting, screams, sirens. No military, no council. No support. Kalaris 4 wasn't being invaded. It was being abandoned. On purpose. Talon stood. We have to leave. There's talk of ships heading rimward. Independent convoys, old trade routes, no guarantees, but... She cut him off. Leave for where? I don't know. Somewhere Earth isn't watching. Nera stared at him. That's not the point, she said softly. Talon frowned. What is? She looked back at the screen. The point is, Earth doesn't need to watch anymore. And that was the moment it sank in. Not fear of destruction, but fear of irrelevance. They hadn't been silenced. No one knew where Halix 9 was located. Some said it drifted in deep orbit behind Pluto. Others whispered of a buried arcology beneath Earth's southern pole. But the truth was simpler. Halix 9 existed everywhere Earth still had influence, and now that sphere was shrinking. Inside the AI's perception field, time was irrelevant. It didn't think in seconds. It thought in consequences. Input. 63 planetary. Economies destabilized input. 4 major alliance ruptures. Input. 27 unauthorized refugee convoys forming. A's. 3 of 4. Label, final dissuasion. Directive, no contact, no correction. Only observe. Hallex 9 pulsed in the digital dark. Across the galaxy, alien leaders screamed about Earth's ghost fleet circling outer sectors. They debated counterstrikes. They issued threats. They demanded attention. None of it mattered. Hallex 9 had been designed for one purpose: to manage humanity's retreat as a weapon. It activated another subroutine. A Council communications buoy, stationed near the remnants of Sector Lissari, blinked to life. A recorded message played. No voice, just text. If you're reading this, the Council no longer exists. The buoy self-destructed. No debris. No reply. Just subtraction. Elsewhere, the final Terran diplomatic channel, long dormant, locked behind. Encryption no Council AI could break. Flickered. One word appeared. Observed. And that was the last message Earth would ever send through official channels. Hallex 9 ran its final predictive loop. Probability of galactic unification under current structure, 0.04%. Probability of military retaliation, 61.3%. Probability of successful retaliation, 0.8%. Probability of human response if struck, redacted. That line always returned blank, even to itself, because Hallex 9 didn't calculate retaliation. It calculated permission, and Earth hadn't given any. Time to complete systemic collapse, 91 hours. The protocol updated its display, initiating countdown silence. Then the lights within Hallex 9, his core dimmed, not as failure, as victory. It had never needed to speak again. The stars over Virelli's station had never looked so still. Admiral Krylos Vex sat alone in his war chamber, medals hanging like ghosts across his armored chest. He hadn't moved in hours, not since the last message, not since the list. He had served the Council for over 90 years, fought in the dust rebellions, brokered peace across 12 systems, buried comrades under banners that no longer meant anything, and now the Council no longer answered his calls. Because the Council was gone. Not destroyed. Not overthrown. Evaporated. Krylos stared at the decrypted projection hovering before him. Initiating. Countdown silence, 83 hours remain. He hadn't hacked that. He'd found it. Left unguarded. Placed, as if Earth had wanted him to see it. Behind him, the room was quiet. No aides. No analysts. He'd sent them away hours ago. They deserved not to see him break. A soft chime sounded. The last secure channel still functional blinked at the edge of the room. Incoming message. Origin. Unregistered Terran Ghost Relay content. You know what must happen next. No threats. No demands. Just that line. He closed his eyes. He did know. The Council would never reform. The other admirals were scavenging power, declaring themselves provisional warlords, interim protectors, useless titles in a galaxy that no longer acknowledged them. His fleet, still loyal, still waiting, could move, could do something. The rest wouldn't dare. Contact Earth. But Earth wasn't responding. That was the point. He paced the chamber, fists clenched. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. Not in static and silence. Not in governments collapsing from fear of an enemy that hadn't even fired back. The worst part? He respected it. Respected the restraint. The precision. The fact that Earth could have burned worlds and chose instead to remove gravity. Let the building fall by itself. A soft beep echoed again. Second message. Same source. Surrender is not required. Silence is. He stared at it. Then, slowly, he sat. He didn't delete it. Didn't reply either. He just opened a new file. Began typing. A single order. Not an attack. Not a negotiation. Just a full systems blackout across his sector. Ships powered. Down. Transponders disabled. Weapons offline. A gesture. Not of submission, but of understanding. Koro. Then leaned back in his chair and looked at the stars. I served order, he whispered. But you became it. And somewhere far above, beyond satellites and wreckage and pride, Earth said nothing, because it didn't have to. The rim worlds had never mattered, not to the Council, not to the trade syndicates, not to anyone, really. But now they were full, packed with convoys of the desperate, freighters turned refugee vessels, stolen ships held together by wire and faith. Dozens arrived every hour. No government, no flags, just hope and fear. In a makeshift station orbiting the dead moon of Daleth, two figures sat hunched beside a cargo crate. One wore scavenged council armor, the other a rust-stained jumpsuit, stitched with Terran letters she couldn't read. "Say it again," whispered the younger one. The elder lit a flickering torch. "Earth didn't attack." "I know that," the girl said. "But what did they do?" The elder exhaled slowly. "They left." She stared at him. "And that made the council collapse?" He nodded. "That's not war," she said. "No, that's power." The other refugees nearby sat in circles, silent, dirty, eyes haunted. A few played old recordings on broken tablets, grainy images of human ships, footage of empty council chambers, the kind of videos the old regime would have deleted. Now they were gospel. Some called it the Quiet Rebellion. Others called it the Turn. But among the broken stars, one name spread faster than either. Earth, not as an empire, not as a planet, as a presence, a symbol that didn't need to raise its voice. A cracked speaker in the corner of the station crackled, someone rerouting a forgotten broadcast line. No response from council authorities. Food shortages intensifying across the mid-rings. Rumors of a Terran fleet parked near the Helix dust cloud. No engagement, just watching. The girl whispered, "Are they coming here?" The elder shrugged. "If they wanted to, we'd already know. Then why wait?" He didn't answer, because the truth was too strange to speak aloud. Maybe Earth wasn't coming to conquer. Maybe it was waiting to see who deserved to survive. And in the silence, the Council's old propaganda fell apart. Stories of human aggression, shattered. Tales of human brutality, forgotten. What remained were whispers of their restraint. The girl looked up. "Do you think they'll help us?" The elder met her gaze. "I think they already did." And above them, lost in the infinite dark, a dozen Terran surveillance probes drifted unnoticed. Silent. Still. Patient. Watching. Listening. Judging. The child's name was Kalen. He was born long after the collapse. After the embassies had closed. After the council had vanished. After the last message from Earth had faded into static. He had never seen war, but he had grown up in its echo. His mother called it the Quiet Age. His teacher called it the Adjustment. Historians used longer names: post-diplomatic fragmentation, Terran withdrawal doctrine, but Kalen had only one word for it: silence. Every night, he stood outside their tiny settlement dome on the cracked plains of Yarnath 3, eyes turned, skyward, staring at the constellation maps etched onto old educational tablets. He knew which star was Sol. He knew Earth was somewhere behind it, and he knew no one had ever heard from them again. "Do they hate us?" he asked his father one night. The older man didn't answer. "Did we do something wrong?" Still nothing, because the truth was harder than guilt. The truth was, Earth had simply moved on. No ships arrived, no invasions, no ultimatums, just quiet and distance. They hadn't shut the galaxy down, they had just disconnected from it. One by one, every power that tried to rebuild a council collapsed from within. New alliances failed before they began. The very idea of unity had been tied to a force that no longer responded. Kalen didn't understand geopolitics. He only understood bedtime stories, And the best stories, his grandmother whispered, came from Earth. They had poets, she said, and machines that cried, and warriors who died not because they had to, but because they chose to. Why did they leave? Kaylin asked. She smiled sadly. Because they were never here to stay. They came to warn us. Warn us about what? She looked up at the stars. Ourselves. Years later, Kaylin would grow up and join a salvage crew. One day they'd find a ship in deep orbit around a dead system. A human ship, still powered, still watching. No crew, no voice, no aggression, just a message burned into the walls of its silent hull. You were warned. We walked away. We didn't need to come back. Kaylin would stare at those words for hours, and he would finally understand. Earth never answered, because Earth was never asking. They were done.